Hi, everybody. It is, what is it, Monday, June 4th already. Happy June
Wow.
to everybody. Hopefully you saw the Facebook Live I posted and just wanted to take a moment again and congratulate for the month of May. As a group, we just had a stellar month. We helped more people as a team than ever before. Every month it just keeps increasing. So whether you're helping just a few people or just getting started or helping a lot, it makes a difference. And it just shows the power of a team working together. So it's just a lot of fun and starting out a new month and just a great opportunity to engage and help more. So thank you for coming out tonight, investing in yourself. We do these calls for you. I mean, really to enhance our training, our skills, our confidence. And we thought we'd continue the conversation on sticky situations. And 2 weeks ago, we talked on this topic, and we talked a few particular items that we talked about really had to do with mindset. And so when a client loses focus on their goal, maybe they want to stop short of whatever it was they said they initially wanted. And Susan Giesling gave us that great analogy of being the bus driver and somebody wants to get off early, and how do you handle that? And we talked about when somebody wants to eat things off of plan, and how so much of that is really tied to someone's intrinsic desire, really being crystal clear on their why and why they're doing this in order to be able to make those more difficult choices, and what our role is as a coach. So if you missed that, I would recommend that you go ahead and watch it. It was from 2 weeks ago. We didn't meet last week for Memorial Day. But this week, the 3 topics we're going to talk about with sticky situations are 3 different situations. The first one's going to be Vicki Feldman's going to share with us about it could happen with a client on program or potentially with a new client, and when they might indicate that maybe they think the program's not safe, that it's not enough calories, or something of that nature. And then after that, Linda Young and I are going to talk about what if somebody is concerned about the safety of the fuel lanes or the soy in the fuel lanes, even using fuel lanes. Is that a good thing? They'd rather use regular grocery store Whole Foods. And then as time permits, we'll go into the last topic. Julie is going to share with us a little bit about situations when people want to exercise and the plan. So a lot packed into this 30 minutes. And Vicki, I'm just going to go ahead and hand it over to you to do a little conversation around the situation of somebody be questioning the nutrition and safety of the program based on the caloric intake.
Okay. So hello, everybody. Good evening. So I think when people are concerned about that part, they see the feelings being so small and thinking, how can a person who needs to lose 100 pounds and a person who needs to lose 10 pounds be on the same program? And I use that opportunity to really explain to people that really the bottom line is, in order to lose weight, we got to create that caloric deficit. We have to create that 3,500 calorie deficit in order to lose a pound of fat. There's really only 2 ways to go about doing it, and that is to decrease your caloric intake. And most people get very hungry, and it's not something that's sustainable, which is after a week, when maybe they've lost that pound or that quarter pound or that half a pound, they get frustrated because they're hungry. So the other way to be able to still create that deficit and limit that hunger is really explaining to them what the fat burn state is. And Dee posted a great, and I'm sure probably almost everybody's seen it, but if you haven't, definitely go look on our Eat, Live, and Be Optavia page, because I had a client, actually, even though we've talked about it, somehow seeing it in writing was a great aha moment for her. But understanding that we all, if we can turn on fat as a source of fuel in our body, that most of us have lots and lots of fuel available to be able to use for energy, and fuel is a very efficient source of energy, and a combination of being able to turn the corner to use fuel as your fat as a fuel source while still getting that 100% nutrition, right? We're talking about 20% of your RDA, vitamins and minerals. Every fueling that we have, they're getting 100% of their daily needs met. They've got the paired carbon protein. It's low glycemic, going to keep that blood sugar balance. So between that blood sugar balance, decreasing cravings, being make sure that it's nutritionally sound, because as we know, if we tell people to fuel 6 times a day and balance the carbs and proteins, most of them are not probably going to get all the vitamins and minerals that they need. So everything is just ready to go for them. It gives them what they need to function. It gives them good sound carbs and proteins, as well as fiber, sends that kind of secondary fuel source as fat, and people can feel good. They can still then create that deficit. And then they can really make progress because they're going to have increased energy and they're going to just feel, which makes it very sustainable. Obviously, they turn and tap into habits of health. That is the main thing. I remember when I first started the plan a few years ago, and I don't know if it was Dee or Susan or somebody said, think of these feelings like 2 eggs and a piece of whole wheat toast. And that was very, to create that visual for somebody so that they understand that it's nutrient dense and that it's not just empty calories. They're not just having a bar. Those are the key things that I explain to people. I find that if somebody really wants to know, explaining the difference between a caloric deficit and then a fat burn state helps understand why the feelings are very efficient. Now, I will say, is that their real concern, right? So you have to always get to, do they want that information? Is it okay to share that information? Would they be interested in learning about the difference between weight loss and fat loss? Would they be interested in learning about just caloric deficit and then a fat burn state and how they're really different? Because if somebody is open to that, then you can kind of explain it to them. I think, as we all know, if the wall is up, it doesn't really matter what you say because they're not necessarily going to be unreceived. And I think that then goes back to really questioning them. What are they doing now? And is that working for them? And are they hungry? And do they have good energy? And can they maintain their exercise program? Finding out what's important to them. That's my short and sweet answer. I don't know, Dee, if you have anything to add, or Julie or anybody else, feel free to jump in.
Well, Vicki, you can say so much in so few words. I love that. Love listening to hear how you share about things. I think a couple of key things that you said was, one, asking permission. Like if somebody says, well, that can't be safe, would it be okay? Can I share a little bit around how this is different than what you might be thinking of with traditional weight loss? There's just something about if we can connect with somebody and get their permission versus just throwing it at them, that will make a difference in the way that it's received. And then I just saw something today that just reminded me that the great thing that we have, and you don't have to be a scientist to understand the fat burn thing. Go back and read the simple explanation on our Facebook group. But 2 things to keep in mind, that we have so much medical credentials with our program, right? Like, it's not like we're just telling people to eat 1,200 calories or X amount of points and they're making it up and we don't really know what the nutrition is they're going to get. We have a plan that's been clinically studied and approved by Johns Hopkins and also approved by the National Institute of Health. So I really like to use those medical credentials with people because it makes a difference, that we really do know what we're talking about, been in the industry for almost 40 years and backed by over 20,000 physicians supported. So we have a lot of medical credentials. And like Vicki said, we can share all that. The right person, will be open and listen. If they're not quite ready yet, they might not hear you the first time, but they'll probably come back around with interest.
When they're hungry and it's not working, whatever they're doing.
Yeah. Questions around that, around the caloric and fat burn versus caloric deficit before we move on. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question.
I was just going to say, I have a lot of couples and they don't understand. I've explained it to them, but that they have a hard time understanding that the man and the woman eat exactly the same thing. So can you maybe go over how we can explain that the best way to them?
Vicki, do you want to share that?
Yeah, I think the main thing is realizing that they're getting 20% of the RDA for, they're getting their nutritional requirements. I don't know, if you think about a person, let's say, who's in the hospital, they can't eat by mouth, right? They're going to get nutrition through an IV, right? They're going to get what their body needs, for nutrition. So our program kind of does the same thing. I almost think of them as that, I don't know, for me, the feeling's always almost been like like a basal rate of insulin. You know what I mean? Like you're giving the body exactly what it needs. Men will sometimes lose quicker than women just because they have more lean muscle mass. So sometimes they'll tap in a little bit quicker. Sometimes we'll find that people who have more weight to lose might lose at a faster rate. And some of that, of course, is getting rid of some of that water that's stored, obviously. But it's kind of like, if you're eating 5 ounces of chicken and broccoli, you're not going to necessarily have a bigger portion because you're a man, right? You're still eating what is calorically makes sense for your body, if that makes sense. Does that help?
And another thing to add to that, because that was a really good explanation, is that the body, we're going to put the body into the mild state of ketosis. So after a few days, the body's going to convert from burning glycogen, basically carbs and whatever, for energy. It's going to start burning fat for energy. So Beth, you're exactly right. If you have a man and a woman, most likely the man is a larger person. His daily caloric need is higher than the females. And it is the same plan. They both get adequate nutrition. What happens is that the male, his body will burn more fat throughout the course of the day to make up the deficit. So the science of the body will burn more than the woman's will. And then that's what leads to what Vicki said, typically that faster weight loss for a man than a woman. But they do get adequate nutrition. Zena, you want to unmute?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So I have a client who was just starting, and she didn't want to start right away because she had a test she had to do, and she didn't think that she could do this test on 1,000 calories for the day or that. When I shared with her that I have a man who is a surgeon, a large man, doing surgery during the day for this amount, that it's fine. She said, oh yeah, I guess that's okay then. And it just changed her channel and she was fine.
Because again, she was in the mindset exactly of what Vicki said. If she was thinking she was burning 1,000 calories in glycogen terms, caloric deficit versus fat burning. Now, the first few days when she was in that adjustment period, it might have been difficult to concentrate or whatever. But once you're into that fat burn, most people actually think more clearly and do great. So that was good. That was really good that you gave that analogy. So another question that comes up sometimes is, well, why do I have to eat these fuelings? Can't do this, or can't you just coach me with grocery store foods or something of that nature? And Linda Young, an executive director on our team, was going to touch on that for us, that topic.
Yeah, I find that conversation comes up an awful lot when we have a candidate. And they love the idea of eating every 3 hours and frequent small meals and drinking a lot of water, but they're like, no, I just really want clean food. I just want to eat regular food. I don't want to do the processed food and the meal replacement items. So right away, I almost kind of go back to my own story and I say, that was my hesitation too. That's exactly where I started. I always liked to cook. I was always into healthy cooking and eating, but the conclusion was what I was doing wasn't working. So it doesn't matter how great I think I'm cooking for myself and eating, if I'm still trying to lose 15 or 20 pounds and I'm not getting there, it's time to start something else. And that's how I got involved in the Optavia plan. And of course, as we all know, that the shift happened really fast in terms of mindset and also in terms of, my physical changes. And that was a great thing and something that we can share with everything. But, and then I like to, emphasize the fact that you're not going to be eating meal replacement items forever. Once you get to your goal, we have this amazing transition program in our program that you're going to quickly go back to eating mostly grocery store food. And I always confess, I say, I have to tell you, I still eat one thing a day or maybe two. I like that. I like to keep a bar in my purse for when I'm out running around. And I like my sweet thing after dinner. So when my husband is having something that's a lot of calories, I'm usually just just having one of the Optavia brownies or a cookie or something like that. And that gives me that satisfaction. The other question is about people say, I don't want to eat processed food. And sometimes I say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by exactly do you mean by processed food? And, you know, when we talk about that a little bit, they'll say things like, well, I like to eat oatmeal, or, you know, I'm just happy to have a granola bar. Well, you know, I try to gently point out to them that if you're not growing it in your backyard, you know, that oatmeal and that granola bar is processed food. And then I refer to that wonderful document that we have from Nutrition Support that talks about good processed food versus bad. And we've got a great document out there that talks about, you know, I've actually got it in front of me, that typical processed food is high in sugar, sodium, and fat, and low in fiber, whereas our fuelings are lower in sugar, fat, and sodium, but rich in quality protein and fiber. It talks about the, you know, the probiotics and the vitamins that are added. So that's a good thing to point out. And the other thing I like to talk about, because sometimes people have maybe done a little bit of Googling, and I like to tell them what a change we have had in our company in the last couple of years with how they've really, really changed the quality of our products with, you know, bringing on the Optavia products, and that we've got no artificial anything in them anymore. And that was really in response to what our clients were looking for. They wanted the whole foods version of the, you know, the meal replacement item. When I get a no, like a really no or a not now, I usually leave it off with saying, I would be happy to coach you with just grocery store food if you'd like me to, but I have to really be honest, it's very hard to get, as we all know, the nutrition high enough and still get the calories low enough and the convenience. So I don't know, I find that just pointing out a couple of these things at least gets people thinking about, maybe this is something I should try to, even for a little while. And, you know, when they're happy after the first month, clients keep going.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of times people that were not interested in the fuel lanes, and then it's hard to get them off them after, you know that, and, you know, very often people evolve to the 3 and 3. Dev's raising his hand, right? You have skeptics become raving fans at times. So a lot of times I think it's a lack of knowledge. I think you explained that really well, Linda. And I'll tell people, I'll say, you know what, there are a lot of different ways to lose weight. And there's a difference between healthy eating and weight loss. And weight loss, I mean, we have to dial it in. As Vicki said, it's 3,500 calories for every pound. And the average person needs to lose 30 to 40 pounds. I mean, it's just so much that the ideal, we're trying to bring people to the point of, you know, eating 6 times a day of all healthy foods at Whole Foods if they want. But we need that bridge in between. And so what I'll often use, and it seems to work well, is that, you know, there are different ways to lose weight, but there's a lot of variables involved. There's a lot of variables when you're doing it all with your grocery store foods, from questioning what your nutrition is to your caloric intake and how your body is going to respond to those foods. So it will be an unpredictable outcome in terms of how fast you'll lose weight. If you follow this process, it's based on the science of the body, it's clinically proven, and you will get that predictable result that you're looking for. So most people they want, you know, if they're going to work that hard, they want particular results. So sometimes questions come up around soy and the products. I don't know if that has happened to you recently, but we do have quite a bit of documentation, and I will post it in our Facebook group in the document section. And there's also a little video. The processed food document that that Linda talked about, that is in the files section of our Coaches Opt for Change Facebook group. So you can get that if you want it, and feel free to share that with clients. It's a public document from Nutrition Support. But we do have information around soy too, and there's a lot of misinformation around soy. and in the community, and a lot's just people do internet searches. I heard this, I heard it's not good for that, but they don't really have any medical backing on it. But we actually have medical studies. There's a study from JAMA, which is the Journal of American Medicine or something like that. But they basically actually show that women that consume soy actually had a like 30% less reoccurrence in breast cancer than those who didn't. And then we have a document called Soy and Your Health that's available that I'll post that actually shows that it is actually a very, the Food and Drug USDA, soy is a pure protein of the same value as animal proteins. It has less fat and less cholesterol than meats do. But also the same kind of studies showed that people who ate soy, their cholesterol levels were less risk of heart disease, and also less risk of cancer. But at the end of the day, the real risk for somebody and their risk of cancer, and especially female cancers, is in the excess weight that we carry, because excess weight carries estrogen in it. So somebody is at much greater risk of illness and cancer from the extra weight that they're carrying than anything that might be in our products, which is soy is a plant-based product. We have on our in our organization a doctor named Dr. Dee Garcia, and I'll share her video, but she was a breast cancer oncologist for 27 years in St. Louis. And she had a breast cancer oncology clinic. And what she found was that thank you, Gay. What she found was that the women's ages were getting younger and younger and younger that were coming in with breast cancer. And all the studies and the evidence were showing higher, the common denominator and the biggest risk factor being overweight and obese. And she actually sold her practice and is a full-time health coach with Optavia because she wanted to be able to prevent women from getting breast cancer versus giving them radiation and chemo and treatment once they had it. So that alone, I think, speaks pretty highly to the integrity of what we're offering. But that information is out there, and she's got a couple of videos, et cetera, that could be shared as well. Questions around any of that? Carol, can you unmute yourself?
There we go.
Yeah.
So one of the concerns that I've heard, and I imagine that Lori's heard too, because of the company that we keep, is genetically modified. That all the soy in this country, unfortunately, is genetically modified. And so that puts a whole nother spin on what we're really putting into our body. Even if it's plant-based, it's been altered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not an expert in that area, I will be the first to admit. I know that GMO is most things that people are purchasing in the grocery store, et cetera, and that the average person is consuming are genetically modified. That's why you pay so much more for it in Whole Foods for the non-GMO version of things. So I think that that is an issue. Like Debbie said, we do have our Select line, which is non-GMO. That's why the price point is a little bit higher on it. So, but that can be factored in too. Again, I think I would look at the risk factors of somebody being overweight more than a couple of months usage of the product. Carol.
Also wanted to say I kind of wish that they would do some more that are free of soy protein and soy product, because the people with thyroid, and some of them, so I have a few that have thyroid condition on meds, and I have them have the choice of about 12 that they do within the first hour after their medicine. They take their medicine in the morning. But I happen to have one who just became a coach, who has no thyroid at all. And so she can only choose between those 12 items that are offered that way. So maybe somehow somebody can think of how to do a few more choices for people in that situation. So that's all.
Yeah, thank you.
But she's doing great. She is doing phenomenal on it. with her 12 little items, she's as happy as could be. Whereas, you know, you have clients that are like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, I tried that, I didn't like this. And here I keep thinking of her, she's got 12 things she can pick from and she loves it. So.
Yeah. And that is clarity of her goals and what she wants. I have had people completely do the entire 5-in-1 program on non-soy products, you know, just those few, not even working just around the first hour in their thyroid medication, but completely do it just on that. And when they're determined and very crystal clear on what they want, they'll make it work. But the company is very aware of what the consumer market wants, and that's why when Optavia converted all the Medifast, why they went to the clean label. It's why we do have our non-GMO line. It's why the new shakes that came out were not soy. So the company, some of the snacks we have are actually made from a pea protein. They are definitely experimenting with different things. And we'll continue to send that message. I think the challenge that I have heard, and this was from when I got to do a tour of the lab up at Medifast, what they said was that soy protein is very, very user-friendly in terms of it's odorless, it's tasteless, it blends well. So that's how we're able to get so much variety of products with it, because it's an easy product to work with from a formulation standpoint. Whereas like a whey protein, etc., it's just a little more difficult and I guess clumpy and taste-wise and aftertaste. And it tends to be more in the drinks and soups, right, than anything else. But I do know the company is working on it, and we'll continue to send that message as well.
I've also had comments from several people that say that they're reading the label and it's all kinds of things they don't even know what they're putting into their body, and that's a concern.
Well, we always feel free to bring them to the phone with nutrition support. A lot of what you see is actual the vitamins that are in it, but there are no additives or preservatives or artificial flavors or ingredients or whatever. So if they don't know what it is, we can always call nutrition support and run through it, and they can do a real clear of that.
Thanks.
Julie, I'm going to hold on the exercise topic just in the sake of time. I think that would actually give us probably a whole nother call to talk about people who exercise and the different options for them. I wanted to take the last few minutes and just go over a couple of things that I think will be really valuable for you guys and your clients. This Wednesday night at 8:30, the Habits of Health call is going to be on transition from the 5-in-1 plan. And Nicole DeWard, who is another health coach under Susan Pallas, our global director, she's going to be leading that call. And there are some options now for clients with their coming off the 5-in-1 versus that 4-week add extra starchy vegetables, fruit, or whatever. So she's going to be sharing a different approach. So I thought that might be valuable. And I'll tell you, anytime we've ever done a call on transition, our client, I'll post about it, but our clients, that's probably one of the biggest concerns is what is life going to look like after the 5-in-1 plan. So really, I would encourage you now to get your clients on that call so that they can start to prepare and feel more confident about going forward. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 8:30, once a month, the first week of the month, Susan Pallas likes to do a rank up celebration call. And we have, I think our team has leading with 6 rank ups last month. So those people will be on the call tomorrow night sharing. So please come and support our team members that are moving forward, and they'll be sharing ideas, what they work through, both in terms of action and maybe mental challenges and concepts that they work through in order to achieve those goals. So that's going to be tomorrow night at 8:30. Susan will share that info. And if you live in the Atlanta area, on Friday, June 15th, we're doing a client and community event right in the East Cobb area. And these events, like Dr. A said, when you bring people together, it makes a huge difference for everybody. So if you have people in this area, including yourself, come, because we have a lot of fun together. It's going to be a lean and green night, sharing dinner, and then we'll be sharing some tips for staying on track for the summer. And it's a great idea to invite potential coach candidates and client candidates so they can get a glimpse into what we offer. And then the last is just convention. We're about 6 or 7 weeks away from convention. And as Dr. A said, and what Nancy said, if you're not sure you have the time or the money, it's all the reason why you need to be there to learn, what's possible with this business and get the skills in order to be able to do that. So I'm happy to have a conversation with you to help you figure out what that might look like for you. And any questions around any of that before we close out for tonight? All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything you're doing to make a difference in other people's lives. And thanks for showing up tonight. It means a lot. And hopefully you got a lot out of it. Thanks to our speakers. Bye.